Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Stop, Look, and Listen. I'm your host, LeTroy Gardner. This week, we welcome back a friend of the show. He's the president and CEO of the Soul Snacks Cookies. He has a new endeavor called Dear Family Stories, which we will delve into in this conversation. But he's also a drummer extraordinaire. He's worked with the likes of the group behind me.
I didn't even see that back there.
Their lead, the man behind all of the hits, Nile Rodgers, the legend. He's worked with Sting and Bono and Biggie and Queen Latifah, Erykah Badu. The list goes on and on. Showtime at the Apollo, which after our interview, I just started doing a deep dive back into the classics on Tubi, and I was like, that's Ralph. That's Ralph with a mustache. What?
And hair.
And hair. So, yeah, we got the legendary Ralph Rolle back on the show. How you doing, Ralph?
Good, LeTroy. Thanks for having me, my man. I'm glad to be back.
Wonderful, wonderful. How's the summer going so far?
I just got home. I got home on Monday from a 6-week European tour with Nile and Chic. We did some great shows, a lot of festivals, some private shows, and he's a gem to work with. I've been with him now from the time I left the Apollo, actually. So that was almost 20 years ago I left the Apollo. And Nile is, a lot of folks don't know, but he's written some of the greatest R&B pop songs of a generation. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as well. You know, songs that you wouldn't think he had written, he's actually got his name on it. Going backwards, Cuff It with Beyonce, Get Lucky with Daft Punk, Sister Sledge, Diana Ross, Duran Duran, In Excess. I mean, the list really, really goes on and on. He's a dope guy to work with, man. I'm glad to be with him, man. Yeah. He makes life easy.
So, like, at a Nile Rodgers Chic show, are you all doing the other songs that they produced, like the Madonnas?
Right. And I left out Madonna. So what's so cool about our show, and if I'm coming to where you are, you got to come to the show. You got to be my guest, please. You have to come. But the show is basically, I would call it a theatrical presentation of his life and music, and some of the songs that he's had his hand in, either writing, producing, or both. Movie soundtracks. We just did Tiny Desk, and a lot of people didn't know that he wrote the soundtrack for Coming to America. So every time you hear Soul Glow, that's Nile Rodgers. So we did Tiny Desk, and we did a little piece. We surprised him and did a little piece of Soul Glow. It was hilarious to see his face. But when you come to the show, that's what you get. You get some Madonna, some Sister Sledge, Duran Duran, David Bowie. I sing Let's Dance, actually, and we have a good time. I just bring some New York, crowd-pleasing hip-hop, Dougie Fresh to, audiences. They have fun.
Right. That's great.
It's a good show.
Cool. Is Nile the only artist that you specifically drum for now on tour, or you still have a rotation?
I do a lot of recording sessions when I'm home. There's one young lady that I just started doing a bunch of stuff for. Her name is Izzy Escobar. She has a song on the soundtrack of the new Devil Wears Prada 2 movie. So I'm back and forth between, when it comes to drumming, I'm either out on the road with Nile, I'm doing master classes on my own, I'm running my drum business, or I'm home doing sessions, and then, the whole cookie thing. So people always ask, when do you sleep? And I'm going, that's why I'm propped up against this wall right now. I'm trying it's that's what I do music wise. And then it's all the other stuff that I've chosen to do.
Mm-hmm. So obviously with your decorated career as a drummer, and as we discussed previously, the success of Soul Snacks and now Dear Family Stories, just talk about the common thread between the three.
The common thread is passion. Once you find that passion bug bites, for me, I just have to go for it. I just got to see. I don't like to leave things up to chance. I don't like to leave things up to, I can't do that. What if it doesn't work out? Those things just aren't part of my vocabulary, because I realized a long time ago that time has no exact date, and everyone has an expiration on theirs. So as much time as I have, I just wanted to try and do all the things in my life that I just thought were fun, cool, that I had a passion for or an idea for, and if it really hits me, I'm going to finish it. I'm not just going to leave it, and there's quite a few, but again, I'm not just leaving it to because you've heard this before. Somebody would see a product on TV and say, man, I had that idea 10 years ago, and they never tried it, So why don't you try it? Why don't you, try all of the things in your life that you feel are important to you, and just give it a try. If you're going to fail, at least fail at trying, which means you're successful. Because success is not how much money you make, it's in finishing the thought.
Right.
And I've always gone by that.
Mm-hmm. And with Soul Snacks, you were taking some of your grandmother's recipes.
That's how Soul Snacks got started. It started me being in the kitchen, watching my grandmother and mother cook, and just being so excited about the food that they was about to serve and how they made it and how they baked it. And my cousin Vincent and I, we were the youngest, so they gave us the mixing bowl. And I never forgot that. We used to sit at the table on telephone books, and my grandmother would hand us the mixing bowl, and we would just dip our fingers in there. That bowl was clean. You didn't have to wash it. And those moments of just family and comfort and food just stuck with me. And I grew up a very inquisitive kid asking a lot of questions, and I was a little shy. So when I got to my adolescence and wanted to meet girls, I didn't have the swag like my friends. I grew up in the projects, and most of my friends, it's like they were born cool, and I wasn't. So I figured out a way that in order for me to meet girls, I'm going to give them cookies. I'm going to bake some cookies, just give them out. Just, that's going to be my icebreaker. And it worked. I mean, it worked well. They thought it was corny, but then, when they saw me, I'm talking to that girl over there now, snap. So it did work. And then after my mother passed away, my girlfriend and my production team started working out of my house. My girlfriend started living with me. We were all in love and stuff. So I said, why don't we just bake cookies and let everybody know, we're together and living together. And so we did. And everybody got back to us and said, yo, these cookies are amazing. So I'm like, this is a good indicator. So I was working, I don't know if you're familiar with Melba's restaurant in Harlem.
I am.
But Melba was the proprietor. She was the person who managed an open mic night at her cousin's place at Sylvia's, because there was Sylvia's restaurant next door with Sylvia's also. And I was the drummer there with Shelby J, who sung with D'Angelo. Who else was in the band? Salon Lerner, who was Tony Braxton's D. Fred McFarlane, who did Somebody Else's Guy. He wrote that, and some others. You Got to Show Me Love is another big song that he did. So there was really good talent. Mike Phillips, who played with Prince and had his own record out. There was a lot of great talent in this little band. So I called Melba and said, listen, Melba, I got this idea. I want to start a cookie company. Can I start by giving out cookies and selling them at the restaurant? I mean, at the open mic. And she said, yeah, bring them in. So I packaged up the cookies, and like I said, I grew up in the projects, and so did my girl. She graduated from Juilliard, but she grew up in public housing down in Spanish Harlem. So we decided to call the first iteration of the cookies just for fun, because we're from the ghetto. So we call them ghetto cookies. And we gave them out, and everybody's like, yo, ghetto cookies is everything. So the night I went to Sylvia's, there was a guy from YSB magazine at the bar, and Melba was like my champion. She was like, oh, he's doing this. He works at the Apollo, blah, blah, blah. And she's a graduate Juilliard, and how they met and this. And he said, you know what? That's a good story, good feel-good story. Let me see if they want to do an interview. So he asked us if we wanted to do an interview. Obviously, we said yes. I wasn't prepared at all. So I called my sister, and I said, I don't have any way for people to reach me. Can I use your pager? She had one of those pages, back in the day, they had the PIN number.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to YSB magazine, I have a copy somewhere. I'll send it to you. It has her pager number and the PIN. And we both thought maybe we'll get like 10, 20 calls or whatever. Brother, LeTroy, how wrong I was. The first day the magazine came out, my sister called me and said, okay, get a pen. Write down these two numbers. Wrote down the two numbers. Later on in the afternoon, she said, get a pen. You got 5 more. By the next day and the day after, we was getting 30, 40, 50 people. Now, I don't know what to do because I'm still in my apartment. What do I do? So my friend had a brownstone across the street, and it was an above ground apartment available. My boy Patrice. And I asked him, I said, yo, man, could you ask your mother if I could rent a spot? He said, nope. I said, why? He said, you know how strict my mother, you ask her. And I'm like, she was like my mother. And they actually worked in the community together. So I got up enough nerve to go ask Ms. Durant. I said, Ms. Durant, this is what I'm doing. I got a cookie company. I got all these orders. I'm going to have to gut your kitchen. I'm going to have to put in a new oven. I got to put in a new 3-tub sink. I got to put in ventilation. Take your oven, put it somewhere. One room is going to be storage. One room is going to be preparation. And one room is going to be my office. And she looked at me with just a stale face and she went, okay. And that was how it started. And then I got in touch with my old friend, Angelo Ellaby from Double Exposure. And before you know it, I was getting calls from everyone. And the big call came from the New York Times and then Family Circle magazine, put us in their Christmas issue. And 30 years later, this is our 30th year, we have grown the company from a kitchen in my apartment all the way to Walmart and Kroger. And I'm now about to do business in the UK. I had a store in Japan, and I'm opening up a kitchen in Germany. And it all came from just being persistent, not having a lot of money. I started the company with under $100. But I tell people all the time, the only way that you're going to find success is if you get out of your own way and challenge yourself and set deadlines and don't put something off for next week, because you might not know about it. You got to ask questions. You got to do the research. And as you know, now it's easier with all of the technology we have. I started 30 years ago. I had to get somebody to build my website. You could build a website right now just by going to AI. So it's being persistent. Ralph McDaniels, I don't know if you remember Ralph McDaniels.
Yeah, the box.
He had Video Music Box.
Yeah,
and at the end of his
box.
show, he used to always say, persistence overcomes resistance. And that literally stuck with me. That one little phrase at the end of every show, persistence overcomes resistance, is the truth. You got to be persistent. Look, when you started your podcast, people were probably going, why are you doing a podcast? And you was probably like, because I really want to do it. Now it's blown up. You doing your thing because you were persistent. So
True.
I want more people that look like us to get out of their own way and realize what their full potential is, because time is not waiting.
All right, so one more question about Soul Snacks before we get into Dear Family Stories. And it's tied to when we talked last time, you were on the verge of expanding to Walmart and building this huge warehouse and adding it to Kroger and all of that. But now, like you said, you've pivoted to where you're no longer in these retail stores. Like, just talk about, I guess, the realization that I can still be successful without being attached to these brands, and that the way that society defines success isn't necessarily what makes sense for me.
Okay, so this is a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, because I'm very honest about my experience with the big box stores. As you know, Walmart is one of the biggest stores in the world. They, between that and their online sales, they do upwards of over $1 billion a year, probably. I mean, the Walton family is a very rich family. So my partner and his team were the ones that worked on the deal, because they had an inside track how to get into Walmart. And they were excited about it. And for many reasons. One, because it was Walmart, and two, because what it could have meant on a volume scale. But the thing that you have to remember, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. So it was the most exhilarating thing to prepare, get the packaging right, get the recipe right, because it was too big for my facility. So we had to go to a co-packing facility to get the product done. Many iterations of it has to taste a certain way. We got all of that together. And to see my product being packed on pallets into an 18-wheeler, it just blew me away. But the deal, we spent upwards of almost $1 million to get this going. Where Walmart, they never lift a finger to do anything. We put together this huge plan as to what we wanted to do month to month as far as promotion and marketing, and they shook their head. But Walmart has their own plan of how they deal with small business. And I could tell you that Master P and Snoop Dogg understand it perfectly, because after I got the cookies into Walmart, Kroger's a different story, because we can go back to Kroger and I'll be happy to be there. But Walmart doesn't have to lift a finger to do anything for anybody. Never. Because they're that big. If Walmart filed for bankruptcy, the global market would literally shift. So they're too big to fail, just like the car companies back when Obama bailed them out. Same situation. They're too big to fail. When you have that luxury, it's all up to the person to market their new product, not Walmart. So if anybody's out there trying to get into Walmart, make sure that you got a promotion and marketing budget that's somewhere in the 7 figures to get your product out there, and plan on not seeing any return for at least 3 years, depending on how much your product is selling and what your return is on investment. There's middlemen, distributors, there's manufacturing costs. There's a whole lot that goes into getting that product on that shelf. I was proud that my friends were calling me and going, yo, your cookies is here, man. They dope, they taste good and all that. But they don't know what it took to get there. So anybody out there that's starting a business, I would recommend that for a portion of the time is to learn the business, start small and then build. And even that, though we had a reputation in many small stores, Walmart was, that was the holy grail. So we should have went in with $2 million. We didn't have that in the budget. And after realizing it, it was my choice not to go in another year to spend another $500,000 to possibly not get anything done. Then you got to compete with shelf space. It's a lot, bro. You come in, they're not putting you in the prime spots with Petrit Farms and Nabisco, because that's their big sellers. Those cookies markup in the store is like, say like one bag of Oreos, just say for example, is $2 that we buy. Big bag of Oreos, $2. To get that product to the shelf, it probably cost Oreo 20 cents to make that pack of cookies. And then they sell it to Walmart for maybe 75 cents. So the markup at Walmart and what they get back might be $1.25 a bag. So that's why they get prime shelf space. Our markup was not that, because we were just a small guppy in a huge ocean. So the cookies is down on the bottom shelf. You got to find them. All of those things matter. So I can run classes to tell people the do's and don'ts of running your own business. So I decided to pull out because I just was a little too nervous. Now, as far as Snoop Dogg and Master P, they came up with a cereal, I don't know if you know, called Snoop Loops. And they was excited. They got Walmart picked us up. Now, here's to show you. Listen, Master P and Snoop Dogg got a whole lot more money than I do. And they sued Walmart. And I knew, as soon as I saw it, I knew why. So all the things that they were probably promised, I'm just guessing here, so this is an alleged statement. All the things that Walmart probably promised to do for them, they didn't do. So they just was like, this is what y'all said y'all was going to do to promote the product. We losing money, on our end. So they took them to task. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was a backdoor settlement or whatever. My partners were not willing to do that at all, and that's fine. But I took that experience to move it on to do other things.
Right.
I don't take any bad experience. This is how I look at life. A bad day is a good day, and a good day is a great day, if you learn the lesson in all of it. You got to take that bad thing. I don't care what it is. It could be a death in the family. It could be a breakup. And you got to sit down and you got to figure out, what did I learn from this? Don't back yourself into a corner like all women are the most horrible things in the world. No, that's not learning. That's saying that this particular person I had some problems with. We did have a great time together. How do I take the great times and move it forward? Hopefully her and I could be friends, but I don't have to be her enemy, and I don't have to hate all women. That's how you learn from your mistakes. Same thing in business. This was a deal we got all the way to Walmart. I use that as leverage when I'm speaking to other companies, like our product was in Walmart. And they go, wow, well, it must have been good if you got into Walmart, because thousands and thousands of companies try every day to get into Walmart, and Soul Snacks made it. So that is the catalyst for me getting more things. It's in my business plan that we were there. It's in my one pager when I send out that I was, in Walmart. Even the information you had talks the truth about my Walmart experience. So the thing about the takeaway is, take your mistakes and apply them to your forward motion, and make sure that it doesn't turn you in the wrong direction. It doesn't make you negative. It doesn't, I did that before, I can't do that again, because if I do that, this is what's going, you don't know. What did I learn from it is what you should be applying to your phone. Well, what I learned is that if I go in, this is what I'm going to need. Got it.
All right. So like with the, I guess with DEI and, after the George Floyd assassination and corporations wanted Black-owned products in their stores, like with your philosophy as far as bad days are still good, like should we as Black entrepreneurs look at it that way, as far as we had this opportunity, now they're not riding with us like they were 4 or 5 years ago. How do we pivot and still be stronger than ever?
The first thing is to realize how strong you are. Realize your absolute ability to overcome. Our ancestors went through a lot, okay? And we are here as a testament to how great they were. So the last thing we should look at it as ourselves is not being capable of moving forward or thinking like someone else, because we were not brought here by the same rules, and we're not dealt with on many situations with the same rules. DEI, as you know, was put in place because corporations were actively not hiring minorities or women. That's why it was put in place. I don't know what this dude is doing, but he's spun it into something that is like crazy. We had to force corporations to do the right thing, which means there was something wrong and there was a glitch in this huge matrix that we've been dealing with. But at the same time, knowing what hand you've been dealt should propel you forward and not deter you backwards. Knowing the hand that our ancestors were dealt, you should say, okay, I can't think about that. I can't think about that. I might be the blackest person in the room. I got to think about, is this business going to work? And how many doors I got to knock on? Maybe somebody else might have to knock on 2, where I got to knock on 20. But that's the hand I'm dealt. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. The situation that we're in right now should make us even stronger as a group, as a family. I'm talking about minority communities, because it's not just us, it's us and others. If we do the math that we are actually the majority, there's so much that we could do in that process. But all of these problems that we're having in our government, taking away DEI and all these things, don't let it stop you. Let it make you stronger. Figure out a different plan. There are so many doors that you can open. I'm knocking on doors all day. I had a meeting with a huge distributor, and dude didn't get back to me. He did not get back to me. For months, he didn't get back to me. And every month, like clockwork, I would, hey, how you doing? Just checking to see. Next month, hey, I'm still here. This is what's going on. Hey, how you doing? Yesterday, I swear to you, I could show you the text. He hit me back. My apologies. I didn't get back to you sooner. I have something brewing. I will be back in touch with you soon. And I said, thank you for the text. Persistence overcomes resistance. Put that at the front burner. Don't take it off the back burner. Put it on the front and realize, if someone tells me no, they're telling me no just because it's no. They're not telling me no, in my mind, because I'm black. I refuse to let that be the closing doors. Like, man, you did that because I'm black, man. I could feel that way, but you will never know it. I'm just going to keep busting down doors. That's just how I feel. There's a company that you probably are very familiar with called Actively Black. It's an apparel company, Actively Black. The brother, the CEO of that company, I've never met him, but I admire this dude so much because he's not playing. He's out there doing his thing. His revenue is going up. He's selling his shirts no matter how many people are not buying because they say it's too expensive, but they will put on a Tommy Hilfiger for 3 times the price and not squawk about it, which is those are the PTSD things that we have to overcome as a people to understand that in order for us to grow and thrive, we have to support our business. We have to create Black Wall Streets everywhere. And if we do that, if we go into a community and buy a house and partner with someone and buy another house and then buy 4 houses and create a community and then put a store on the corner and then, maybe start an ambulatory transport service that takes you to and from a hospital, then open your own hospital. That's how it's done. All of our ancestors and leaders have said the same thing. I don't want nobody giving me nothing. Just open up the door. I get it myself. James Brown said it the best. So that's how I think about stuff. The DEI, I saw that coming from this fool long before he even got there. So mentally, I was preparing myself like, these doors are going to close. And this George Floyd thing is going to be temporary. While the door was open, it was working for a lot of businesses because it was a feel-good moment for some of these companies. They were just like, well, I'm feeling bad right now, so let me bring in some minority businesses. And hopefully they sustained that mindset and the businesses thrived. But I just personally don't think that way. I think that I have a product, someone's going to like it and someone's not. So I got to keep banging at them doors. And that's what I've always done. That's how I got it to the point. When I first started, I was at the Apollo. I used to have cookies in my car. When we would go on break between the show and rehearsal, I was at the stores like this. Hi, how you doing? I have my book. I would give them some samples and they would go, okay, this is cool. I have a cousin who has a store down the street. Go see him. I have somebody. And that's how I grew the business from the beginning. I was hustling hard. People ask me what I do. I'm a hustler. I'm not a street hustler, I'm a hustler. So are you. So that's how you do it. That's how it's done. The DEI thing, this is a minor setback, brother. And this should galvanize us for life.
Yes.
To show that our internal strength and solidarity is what can push us forward. That's what we have to do. Man, you got me all riled up over here, man.
I mean, I had to go there. I had to.
I ain't mad at you. I'm glad you did. But that's just how I feel. And I use the actively black as a example because brothers like, I don't care about that. I'm doing my thing. And I'm going to keep on doing it. Ups and downs, ins and outs, good or bad. I'm learning from it all. And I'm apply it to my forward motion.
Dr. Todd McLean provides periodontal and dental implant services in 2 convenient locations. They offer over a decade of experience treating patients, and appointments can even be scheduled in the evenings, weekends, or early mornings. Give them a call in Chapel Hill at 919-537-9774 or in Durham at 919-484-8338 or visit them online at gumsandimplants.org.
So part of your forward motion is still, I like how you worded it earlier as far as you could be in a relationship with somebody and things end bad, and then you can sit back and reflect and, there's good times that you get out of the experience and how that leads to pushing forward. So when it comes to Dear Family Stories, just talk about that passion for family that you have and how, once again, you create something based off of that passion for family.
So with all of the things that I learned through Soul Snacks, how to grow a business, how to build a website, how to use Photoshop, how to just do everything, I started other ventures, practicing by using simple, low-cost websites, starting out like Squarespace, which is used to be my go-to to build. Like if you go to ralphroll.com, that was built with Squarespace, but it has everything that I need for that platform. But then there's things that are more elaborate moving forward that AI has made very possible. And it's a not only is it a money saver, but it's a game changer for anyone in business to find the platforms that are necessary for the business that you want to run. So give me the question again, because I started talking about AI and I got excited and forgot.
No, just talk about how family and your passion for family is pretty much always spearheading your creations.
When I talk about AI, I get excited. I mean, I could talk about AI forever because it's such an amazing tool. When I was 23, my mother had cancer. She was 54 years old and she died when she was 55. I was devastated as a young man because it was just her and I living at the house at the time, me being the youngest. And I had never really seen my mother sick. I saw my mother sick once before. She had gotten food poisoning. And I just used to stand there and look at her because my mother was so strong. She ran not only a family of 4 by herself, but she ran the tenant patrol, the tenant association, the garden program, the summer youth program, and she was the crossing guard on the corner. So my mother was a pit bull. And when she got sick with cancer, it was difficult for me to go to the hospital and just see her because I didn't know what to do. And that's when I also found out. I thought cancer before that was something that people get and die. I didn't know that some forms of cancer are extremely painful. And I watched my mother be in pain first from having uterine cancer and then the cancer spreading to her pelvis. And that's when things got rough because this is the 80s. Chemotherapy, radiation is not what it is today. It made her even sicker. It stopped her digestive system from working. So they had to put a tube down her throat to take out all the bile and everything. And she hated that. So finally, when things started working in her system a little bit, they removed the tube from her and they were sending her home and we were going to pick her up. And when we got there, she had died. And my analysis of it all was if you were sending her home, obviously she was going to die, but she wasn't going to die that day. She probably choked. She probably was calling the button or not, but she passed away. I was angry. I was a mad person for close to 10 years. I was mad at the world. I was mad at everybody. I would function. I would go to gigs. I would smile. But when I got home, I didn't realize I was suffering from depression. I didn't know it because Black folks at that time did not embrace any kind of therapy. So I hid it, just like our parents did, just like our grandparents did. There's a lot of PTSD in our families that we've gone through that we've hidden. So through that experience is when I had a moment in my house alone, and when you look in the mirror, you're grooming, you put your hat on, you're ready for the street. This particular day, I saw me as just me. Like I was looking at the person, and I stood there for a second, and I'm looking at myself, and I said, what the hell are you doing? I started talking to myself as I was talking to someone else. And I said things like, your mother would be angry to see you this way. She's still here with you, but you just can't touch her. You've learned so much. And that's when it all hit me, that a bad day is a good day, and a good day is a great day if you find a lesson. I found a lesson. It was like it's like I made a turn. And everything was about growth and time and movement and passion and helping at that moment. And the one thing that I couldn't replicate was my mother's chili recipe. My mother made chili. I would eat it so much my stomach would hurt. And anytime someone made chili, it just didn't taste right to me. So I kept telling people, listen to me, get the family recipes. Get the family, go follow your grandmother around with a camera, get the rest, because a lot of times grandparents wasn't writing stuff down. They would get a pinch of this and a little of that. But if you film it, you can then decipher all of the recipes and these meals that you love. So as the digital age started to become more and more easy with AI, I said, you know what? I think it's time. I'm going to create a platform where people can preserve their family recipes, because I don't want the same thing that happened to me to happen to someone else. And then that turned into, what if they added, like stories about their family? And what if they added audio? And what if I put voice to text? And what if I put videos that you can upload? And what if I put a YouTube connection so you could add YouTube? It just started getting bigger and bigger. And I realized that this is an amazing platform for people, especially Black folks, to be able to preserve their family histories and legacies. And family history is generational wealth, because when you pass that on 100 years from now, people are going to look at you and be like, LeTroy he did podcasts and he had a company and his wife was a doctor. It's like, really? That's my family? That's why I did this. So Dear Family Stories is a platform for preserving your family history, stories, and legacy. And it doesn't cost a lot like other companies. Some of these companies charge $19.99 a month. I ain't trying to break nobody's pocket, so it's $29.99 for life.
Okay.
You can take the time on the story. I even added a collaboration where you can collaborate with family members for free. So if you got family in other states and you be like, listen, I'll start this platform. I know you got pictures. I know you got stories. Just collaborate with me on this, and it'd be, you can share with as many family members as you want. And then once it's all done the way you want, you can now turn it into a hard copy. So I came up with this idea that no one's doing. I'm very proud of. I wish I knew how to patent it. But in the book, where you had a voice or video, there will be a QR code that when you scan the QR code from the hard copy, it will show up on your phone or your tablet, where you can now show what that was. So it's not just a QR code or something you're looking at or a space in the book, but then you can also save it, download it to a hard drive so you have it forever, and pass it on and email it to other people. I tried to think about everything that would be useful for the end user and not make it so unaffordable that you don't want to use it. This is not for me to get rich. I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about my experience and what it did for me, and I'm trying to pass that on to other folks. So that's where the whole process for Dear Family Stories came from.
Okay. What was something
Good question. Thank you, man.
What was one thing in particular that you discovered from anybody in your family as a result of using the features?
I received some pictures that I didn't even know existed from my sister, who got them from our first cousin in Seattle, Washington. She's in Florida, I'm in New York, and he sent her these photos, a whole folder of pictures I had never, ever, ever seen before that just told the story of my family, pictures of my grandmother I didn't even know existed. So it's when things like that, I discovered that you will get more information through the collaboration part and just sharing, like you call your cousins or your sister or brother and go, listen, I'm doing this thing and I want your help on it. So let's make it happen. I learned that sharing part is a very important aspect sharing information. Even if you don't use their family stories, share the information. Get everyone to understand how beautiful your family is and what the achievements, the accomplishments, people who overcame adversities, things of that sort is very important to me.
Mm-hmm. So, like, I've had a few conversations with Micah Anders. She's a genealogical expert out of Minnesota. And we were just talking about how, I guess, my generation and younger, we don't put as much emphasis on family reunions as previous generations. Like, as a kid, every 2 years there was a family reunion, like from one set of family. But another set of family, we haven't had anything since 1999. And I just think there's so much value in those reunions because you're seeing people from, 80, 85 years old, all the way down to newborn babies, and you're all gathered together. You're spending 3 or 4 days doing activities. We would have an award ceremony. We would have a fish fry. We'd go to church. We'd go to my aunt's house. Everybody be in the yard, just drinking, reminiscing, having a good time. And now that doesn't happen as often. And like you said, that generational wealth within all of those stories and camaraderie is lost. So, like, how is that with you? Are family reunions a thing of the past, or are y'all still getting together every year or two?
We used to do a family reunion every year for Thanksgiving. It was always fun, and it was always extremely emotional. When we sat around the table for dinner, it was a ton of us around the table, and we would always stop, and everybody would say what were they thankful for that year. And it was like a purging of emotions from things that you did, overcame, sitting with family, telling your family that, what good happened, what bad happened, how you overcame it, what you lost, what you're thankful for mainly. I miss that. When my brother moved down to Florida over to Tampa, it just stopped. And I wish it was still going on. So to your question, you're right. It should continue going on. And my takeaway from it is that all families should have some kind of reunion, even if it's on Zoom now. Just a moment for everybody to get together for, hey, how you been? What's going on? Let's plan something. Let's plan another cookout. Let's get it all together. This time next year, we can go to a hotel, rent it out, or go to someone's house and just have a good time. We have to do that again. My brother keeps bringing it up, and he wants to do it. Like the other day was his wife's birthday, so his three of his daughters surprised her and came. And I know it was a great reunion for them, but I want to do that again with all the family. I used to love it, just like you. You reminisce on those times. It's great. Younger generations, because of modern technology and the way how we are raising our children, which is different from how I was raised, is why these disconnects are happening. We've gotten more involved in the daily hustle of life and less involved into the community of family, And I honestly, I was concerned about that with their family stories, that this could be a good way to get families to collaborate on different things and information and pull folks back together. I think it's just very important. It's generational wealth, man, to have that. So maybe you should be the catalyst to start the family reunion.
Yeah, I'll say on the side of the family that hasn't had anything since 1999, I think I would have to play a role in that because it's either like me or my mom. But then on my dad's side, I think part of it is like I'm in Florida. A lot of them are in Alabama. Then we have family in Chicago. We have family in St. Louis. It's like we used to do it like there would be a family reunion, say, in 2024 in Chicago. Then in 2026, it'll be in Alabama. Then 2028, Chicago. So, like, we had people in every city that wanted to take the reins of planning the reunion. I don't think that's the case anymore. And
now I have a question for you. Is there anyone in your family that you can think of that would be good to coordinate with to do something like that? Because I know in my family, it would be me.
Right.
And then I could possibly get, someone else to help, but I know I would be the start. I already know that.
Yeah, I think like on my mom's side, I would have to be. I guess what complicates things for me even more is, so I guess you can say I have four sets of family because I have my mom, I have my biological father, my adopted father, and now my wife's family. So it's just like I'm being pulled like in 4 different directions, and it's interesting because my wife is Nigerian, so we'll go to Nigeria. We went 2 years ago. We'll go again next year for Thanksgiving. So we'll be there 2 weeks. And, just getting together with her family, it's like a reunion. We had like 30 people staying in the house while we were there for those 2 weeks. So It was a family reunion that entire time. On my adopted father's side, Thanksgiving and 4th of July is usually when family, goes to Alabama and hangs out. On my mom's side, it's primarily like for a funeral or something when you see everybody.
Right.
So
right. That part, and then it's the other aspect of folks that don't like each other.
Right.
That's their problem. I would say put pen to paper, find out who in your family can help you. And 2 years from now, 2028, July 16th, you're going to have a family reunion somewhere. And whoever shows up, that's on, that's great. And whoever doesn't, that's great too. They'll just get the video. But
right.
If it's something in your heart that misses it that much, man, I think you should, undertake it and make it happen. You sparked it in me. I'm going to talk to my brother because we probably, it's going to end up being in Florida. I already know that, but we definitely need to do, and it's probably going to be at a hotel somewhere because I don't think everyone lives in townhouses now. So the barbecue outside, the other people, they would go crazy. So, you have to get a catering hall and do all. But now my brain is trying to think of all the processes. See what you did, man? Thanks, LeTroy.
No, I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to spark creativity in each other.
That's it.
As we, prepare to wrap, like definitely like just continue to hammer home just these features and how important it is to obviously be able to not only capture these recipes, but the stories of, the elder statesmen of the family that experienced civil rights and segregation, and then going into like our generation experiencing the first African-American president. And now these kids that are basically being born with a computer or a laptop or a cell phone in their hands, like just getting all of these different perspectives on life captured.
So Dear Family Stories once you go inside, the first 2 chapters are free. So you can see if you like it. Just check it out. It allows you to capture every aspect from chapter, whatever you create. You start with your first chapter. If you don't like it, you go back, you can edit it. You upload your videos and photos, and then over a period of time, you'll start seeing how it's turning out. You can move chapters around. You say, you know what, I think chapter 2 in this story that we're telling, let me move that to chapter 4 and move this one up over here. So there's a lot of different features in there that allows people to chronologically just document family stories and history and fun times and jokes and, talk about what people was wearing back then, and just once it's all done, just pass it on to your next generation. You're right about one thing, man. Our generation right now is, from what I can see, maybe not to them, but to us, they seem to be detached from the family legacy, and it's about self. We have to get back to those things and make them important. We have the tools that everyone else has, but we also still have the history that other people don't. And it's important that we use that. And if the features in here can help you get all of that, so young people go, wow, I didn't know this about my cousins and my great-great-grandfather. Those things are very important. That could spark a new type of thinking for the younger generation. But you got to push it. You got to sit them down and say, look at this. I just think that the younger generation is, like, my daughter is 23, and I worry about the world that I'm leaving for her because it's becoming more and more apparent that they don't want us here. Some people just don't want us here, and I don't get it. It's just, if you want to blame somebody, blame it on the sun. People in Africa walked away from the sun and turned into a whole nother, genealogy of people, but the DNA is pretty much the same. But they made it in their journey like they were superior. And we've been dealing with that for centuries. It's like, no, we're all the same and we could all survive on this planet. We don't have to conquer anybody. We don't have to blow up kids in a school building. It's important to understand that every day of these young folks' life is important. And how do we change how they see things? We got to sit down and talk to them. We got to plan things. We got to do estate planning with them involved. Not just hand it off to them like, I don't know what that's. No, let me teach you about estate planning. Let me teach you about Dear Family Stories. Let me tell you why we're doing this. This is all for you, that when you're grown, you take this information on this drive or on this cloud, and you pass it on, and you let folks know how beautiful your family was. You take this hard copy of this book and you scan those QR codes and you see, wow, I didn't know. We have to do that.
Right, right. And I think what we fail to realize a lot of times is that Black Wall Street that you're referring to is within our own family.
Thank you. Thank you. It's within our own families. But think about it. LeTroy, we get so caught up in our own individual hustles that we do not explore that option or that avenue. You know, one of the first, before I started the cookie company, my older sister was a great artist. My cousin wrote poetry. My niece wrote poetry. My other sister was a great administrator. So everybody had these skills. So I went to my family, even though they all worked 9-to-5 jobs. I said, I want to start a Black greeting card company. And at first they was like, wow, that's a great idea. Ask me how many meetings we had. Zero. When you're an entrepreneur, you already know this. It's a certain type of thinking. You cannot convince someone to be an entrepreneur, but you can spark the idea and take it yourself. And then if you want, you can include them in later on. 2 years later, Hallmark dropped a line called Mahogany, and it blew up. And my thing, I wasn't mad because anytime that happens, my thinking is, now what did I learn from this? Proof of concept. If that was the case, we'd all be driving one style of car because the car, because somebody who invented a car be like, nah, it's already done. I'm gonna do something else. No, I want smash burger. I don't want McDonald's. They all burgers, but you get my point.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we got to take that and move it forward. So if you're moving forward, start with you, and then if you decide to bring other people on, bring them on. I have many people that I have as partners in different things, you know, because I think it's needed and necessary. I don't want to do the whole thing myself sometimes, but you know that's it. You know, I hope I answered your question.
Nah, you good. You good. All right, so kind of pivoting back to drumming, we lost this legendary figure last year unexpectedly, Michael Archer, D'Angelo. I want a story. I want a story of your time working with him.
This is one that after he passed, I didn't share on social media. I wanted to wait because has it been a year yet?
I think it should be about a year.
So the first time I met him was at the Apollo. He came in as an amateur. And there was a woman named Miss Matthews, I believe that was her name. She used to bring up talent from down in Washington, D.C., Virginia, Delaware area. So she would bring him to the Apollo, and Michael wasn't even D'Angelo. He was just Michael. And he performed, and he was just a contestant at the time. Then my boy, who used to work for EMI Records, Gary Harris, called me and said, yo, can you come to my office? I want to play something for you. And I get to his office and he puts on a cassette, show you how long ago it was. He says, yo, man, check this dude out. And he's playing it. And I'm hearing him going, this dude is just as bad as Prince. Like, who is this dude? He said, his name is Michael from Virginia. And I said, I hope you're signing him. He said, absolutely. There's no doubt. I'm signing him. So that winter, because it was summer when I went to see Gary, that winter I get a phone call from my good friend Bob Power, who's a producer. And Bob had produced, he had worked with Tribe Called Quest for years. He worked with India.Arie. He worked with Erykah Badu. And they called him to do some writing and producing.
We lost him last year too, right?
We just lost him. He was like a brother to me, man. You know, anyway, that's a whole nother story. But he calls me up and says, I want you to do some playing on this record, this guy named Michael. And I said, okay. And when I get to the studio, it's him. You know, they're now calling him D'Angelo. And I play on the song called Higher. And he says to me, if I put a band together, would you play? He says, I remember you from the Apollo, and I would love to have you in my band. I said, absolutely. If you know, just let me know. He got involved with this manager guy. Well, first of all, I left a part out. Gary put him in touch with this group called Vertical Hold. And Vertical Hold was comprised of two people. It was Dave Bright, keyboardist and producer, and Angie Stone, producer, lyricist, singer. And Dave and Angie were dating at the time. So when the record company said, go work with this young man, they was like, well, fine. Well, I guess Angie saw something different because she left Dave and started dating D'Angelo. And at that time, there was this young guy just fresh out of law school named Kedar Massenberg. And I had met with Kedar when I was doing A&R for Jive Records. So Kedar was just trying to get in. He was just trying to get in. And he was innovative and passionate enough to do whatever it took to get in because he wanted to be in the entertainment industry. So he started doing free work for Vertical Hold. And D'Angelo didn't have a manager. So that's how D'Angelo hooked up with Kedar. And the whole world changed for Kedar after that, because D'Angelo's record, the buzz was out before the record was even ready to drop. So we started doing promo gigs. And one gig that we did, one smart thing that Kedar had done, is he oversold the venue in Manhattan. He told more people to come that the venue could fit. And it started this buzz because they kept making up rumors that people like Prince couldn't get in and Robert De Niro was trying to get in. You know, whether they were true or not, it was like, who's this kid? People were singing his songs while we were playing. So, and then he had the braids, and Angie always takes credit for that, which is funny. He's like, I'm the one that put them braids in his hair. He didn't have no braids before. So we toured. We did a few gigs, and they were all sold out. People wanted to know about D'Angelo. We became very close. And come to find out, he didn't live too far from my brother in Virginia. So when I would go down to Virginia, I would either call him and see if we can get together. And one time I invited him to Thanksgiving dinner. He couldn't come. So we were close like that. But I hated his manager. I couldn't stand him. I felt that there was a lot wrong with him. And so I left the band. And I told D'Angelo the reason why I was leaving is because I had prior commitments. The truth of the matter is, I left. You're the first person to hear this. I left because I just couldn't stand this guy at the time. There was just a lot wrong. So D'Angelo was very sad. He was on the phone. I mean, come on, man. Come on. You know how you talk. Come on, man. Nah, man, Ralph, come on, man. We out here doing our thing, man. I said, I got to go, bro. I got these other things. I'm really sorry. And he couldn't find a drummer. He had went through quite a few. And then he met Questlove. And that's how him and Quest hooked up. And that's how the Voodoo album came about, because that's Quest. And I know that would have been me on the Voodoo album, but, it was all about the timing.
Right.
I went on to do other things, the TV show and other stuff. But me and D'Angelo always stayed friends. So Shelby was in town because I worked with Shelby before. In the open mic I was telling you about. And she called me up and said, I want you to come down to the studio. D'Angelo's rehearsing. Just surprise him. Just come in. So me and my assistant, we go downtown. I said, I'm going downtown to meet D'Angelo. I think she got dressed in like 2 minutes. So we go downtown and I walk in and I see him and it's just like, yo, what? It was one of those like, we hugging and just, so that was the last time I saw him. We took some stupid photos together. One photo we took, I said, hey, yo, let's be like real hard. So me and him are like this in the camera. And then somebody caught us laughing because he was nothing like that. He was a brilliant young man. Like his ideas, you can hear it in his music. Like the first time I played with him, when he touched the piano, I'm like, this man plays like he's been playing for like 50 years. And he's only a teenager. Like, what the heck is that about? So when I found out he passed away, my first instinct was to go on social media and just write about it. But I decided I'll keep those to myself, those memories and those times. I'll share the photos with you, but it's just me and him. Somebody took us, just laughing. They're great photos. They're fun photos. But he was a great guy, going way too soon. And I'm telling you what I tell everybody. No plan on this thing, man. We all have an expiration date that we don't know when it's coming. You have to utilize every moment of your time for something important or incredible. In my opinion, I have to earn my leisure time. That's not something I'm just going to chill right now. No, I don't do that. I got to earn it. After my hard work, I can earn this little bit of time I got right now to sit down and watch some TV. But life is short. So all the things that you see me doing these are not just like, well, I got to do this and I got it. No. It's I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do these things. And I now have to find the time in my day to do it. A lot of people don't know it. I'm 67. A lot of people, they look at me and they go, nah, it's a number. Quincy Jones worked until the day he died, and he was putting out material and putting artists together and coordinating stuff forever and a day. That's how I want to do it. I want to just, my mother, when she died, she still had proposals that she was writing and all that pain for my Bronx River community to better things. That's how I want to go out. I don't want to go out, just chilling. I want to go out doing stuff. And we all have an expiration date. So D'Angelo was just going way too young. He had a lot more in him. I would have loved to see what he turned out 20 years from now. He was my boy. He was a good dude. He was a funny guy, nice person.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think, I guess to put a ribbon on this episode, it's the relationships, it's the collaboration, You know, just even if it's a simple gesture of reaching out, just checking on somebody, but just, you know, not just being glued to your phone, swiping left or swiping right, and, you know, just FaceTime with people. And those stories are everlasting. And your platform, Dear Family Stories, is an incubator that
Thank you.
will keep those memories alive. So I appreciate your time.
I thank you for having me again, LeTroy. I just want people to take more value, like you said, in their families. You know, I'm looking forward to you doing that family reunion because I'm damn sure going to call my brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna hold you to it, and you can hold me to it as well. Yeah.
Check back in with me because I'll let you know what's going on.
Okay, will do.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for your time, man. I really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Glad that all is going well with you.
Yep, thank you. And the website, dearfamilystories.com, like you said, $29.99 one-time fee. So it's not something that's gonna be automatically debited out of your account every month. It's one time only, and like you'll thank him later. So appreciate your time, Ralph. And
thank you, brother.
We'll have to do it again because
I
definitely want to pick your brain on AI.
Listen, I could keep you. We could do a whole nother 2 hours. Anything you want to know, I tell you, brother. Believe me, it is a life changer.
Yep. All right, so yeah, we'll have to do that. I'll reach out to Angelo or Kevin, and we'll have to, you know, put it on the calendar down the road.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. So Ralph Rolle, dearfamilystories.com. You know, appreciate your time once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for Stop, Look, and Listen. I'm your host, LeTroy Gardner. See you next week. Peace and blessings.
Take care, brother.